Hello Internet, good morning. This is Michael from Trike Bike, and today I'm just going to show you how to use the Polar Bear. We've just received our second shipment of Polar Bears into Australia and they're all gone, and we need to show people exactly how to use them because some people are having a little bit of confusion. So let's start with the Polar Bear. It is the biggest behemoth of a bike available in Australia. It's 1500 watts of power. It's basically three-wheel drive, so every wheel is driven, and its operation is very, very simple once you know what's going on. Now there's two batteries in the Polar Bear. One is in the front in this frame section and the other is on the back. So this is a charger that comes with your Polar Bear and you get two of them, one for each battery, so you can charge them at the same time. This front battery is in the frame here and we charge it through a little port on the sides. There's a little rubber cap we just flick out, and the battery charger, you just feel around a little bit and you'll feel it go in, push it in, and that's all that's required. Of course, you've got to plug it into the power point. When you finish charging, the light will turn from red to green and we can just withdraw the cable, swing the plug back up and push it in position. There's really no need to remove this battery, but if you need to, the tricycles come with a key. It's the only key on the tricycle, and we insert that into the lock, rotate it around to unlock it. Then there's a little lever on the front to release the battery, and the battery will come forward. But to get it out, you'll need to turn the front wheel sideways just to give you the room to do it. Really though, there's no need to take the battery out. The rear of the Polar Bear has a huge battery container. It's a big metal box, and this gives us the ability to carry huge payloads. We can put batteries in there up to 80 or 90 amp hours. It's all bolted down so it's secure. Just go through a few things. There's an on and off switch here, so we want to turn the battery on, we push it in. There's a little display so we can check both the capacity and the voltage, so we can see the condition of the battery. When it's finished charging, the light will turn from red to green and you're right to go. Okay, we're going to turn the Polar Bear on, but before we do, we're just going to run through our handlebar controls from left to right. So obviously you've got your brake, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. On the Polar Bear, you've got hazard lights. There's a little button there. You can turn your front light on and off, and also low and high beam. You've got indicators, and down the bottom there we have a horn, so when the bike is on, you can use the electric horn as well as the bell. So it depends how much noise you need to make. Our main controls are basically here in this row. So we've got our on and off, our plus and minus to adjust the speeds, and then this little switch here, it's a 3-position switch. And this allows you to select which motor you want to run on. So at the moment in this position, it's running on the back motor. If I flick it all the way to the left, it'll run on the front motor, and I'll show you that on the display in a second. If I have it on the middle, it'll run on both motors, and that'll give you the absolute maximum hill climbing ability. If we come across, we've got our display, indicators on this side, gear change. It's a 7-speed system. Most of the time you'll probably be in second or third. We've got our back brakes, we've got our throttle. Ahead, I need to press and hold the on button for about half a second to a second, and then you can release it once you see the screen come on. So I'm just going to press it now. The screen has come on. So up on the top left we've got the time. We can see it's 9:15 or 16 in the morning. We've got our battery capacity here, so it says we're full. Down below it there's a funny symbol which is actually the motor symbol. So when I move the motor switch, you'll see these little icons change. So if I want to use the back motor only, I flick it to the right and you'll see one of these icons that was filled in is now empty, and it's showing you the back motor. If I flick it all the way to the left, it'll change and it'll go onto the front motor only. So that's really good. If I want both motors going together, I put the switch in the middle and both motors will come on. Following down from there, we've got a speed which is basically like a speedo in a car, as well as the speed output is displayed in kilometres an hour. We can also see how many watts we're using, and then we've got other information which includes a trip meter, how much time we've pedalled, how much power we've used. There's quite a lot of information there. Number 1 indicates we're on number 1 level of pedal assistance. So I need to explain this to you. When you're pedaling the tricycle, it offers various levels of pedal assistance. So if you only want to go slow, just have it on number 1 or number 2, and that'll give you sort of 10 or 15 kilometres an hour of assistance from the motor. If you want to go up, we use the plus and minus buttons on the handlebars. So I'll press the button once, it'll go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and so on, all the way up to 5, which will give you the maximum level assistance and the highest speed. So that's really good if you're somewhere where there's no people around, no obstructions, the pathway is really good, then you can go along at full speed on the Polar Bear. But for most operations where there's people, you'll be on number 3 or number 2. That's more than fast enough on the Polar Bear. So if you ever get into trouble or you want to get into traffic and be seen, you can use your hazard lights. So we just press the indicator there and you'll see the hazard lights on the front and the rear of the tricycle are flashing at the same time. To turn it off, all we do is again push that button in and the hazard lights will come off. At the moment I've got our lights turned off, but if I flick the light switch, you'll see the light comes on. We're in low beam at the moment. Now we're in high beam. It's actually quite warm, I can feel the temperature. And that's a LED light, so it's really good. I always leave the lights on low beam during the daytime for safety. This tricycle also has indicators. So it uses the same lights that we have with the hazard lights, but instead we can go to the left and you'll see the indicator coming on. I'm going to turn it back to the center, which turns it off. I'm going to go to the right and it will turn the right indicator on, and that's functioning on the front and the back of the tricycle at the same time. We've got an electric horn. We've also got the bell, as I mentioned before. So it depends how you want to alert people. The horn is a little bit further travelling, I think, than the bell, and the horn sounds a little bit angrier. When this is on, we also have to watch the throttle. So I'm going to put the brake on a little bit to disengage the throttle, but if I twist this and the brake is not on, then the bike will actually race away on you, so it can get away from you. So make sure when you're getting on and off, you don't twist the throttle inadvertently. And for safety reasons, I always tell people to just stay on one motor, because the 2 motors can be quite powerful. So the only thing I want to talk about now is the brakes. The brakes on this model have recently been upgraded to dual piston calipers. That means they're pretty much as good as a modern motorcycle brake. So it offers exceptional braking performance. The levers here also have a handbrake lever. It's the same on both sides, but if you want to use a handbrake, you just flick this little lever to the lock position and then just squeeze it and you'll hear it clicking as it gets tighter. So you just click it up. You don't have to overdo it, you just have to do it so it's firm. And now the handbrake is on and the bike won't roll away. To release it, I'm just going to squeeze the lever gently and flick this back and release it. Now the handbrake is off and the trike is completely operational. We also have a tail light with integrated brake light. So with lighting, at the moment everything is off. I'm going to turn the headlights on, and that will also turn the tail lights on like it does in a car. If I press either of the handlebar brakes, you'll see the brake light comes on as well. And while you're at the rear, I'll just show you the rear indicators. So I'll do the left indicator, we'll go back to neutral, the right indicator, and okay, the Polar Bear comes with a really nice sculpted seat with a backrest. It has an insert here which brings cooler air up between your legs, which makes the ride more comfortable. And it's just like a traditional bicycle. You have a clamp around the base here which you can just release, and then you can wiggle the seat up or down to suit your requirements, and then you bring the lever back to lock it in place. Alright, I'm just going to show you how to start off from a standstill. We're in soft grass here, so it's going to take a fair bit of effort, but with the Polar Bear it's no problem. So I'm just going to turn the motor down to number 1. I've just selected one motor, which in this case is the back motor, but it doesn't matter. And I'm going to use a little bit of throttle to roll off. So once I'm rolling, I can then just start to pedal, and the pedal assist will take over and we roll away. Now if I want with the Polar Bear, you can operate it without pedaling if you want to use the throttle only. The laws vary in different states as to how fast you can go and where you can go. But let's assume you're off-road on your private property, then you can go as fast as you'd like to go. If I come to a stop for a second, if I select both motors at the same time, they're both engaged now, and I use the throttle aggressively, you'll see that the bike leaps away, it takes off. So you can see that it's really got some up and go, and that's what you'd expect out of the most powerful tricycle available in Australia. Now let's just go through the suspension. So I'm just going to turn this off by pressing the off button. So press it and hold it. After half a second, the screen goes off. So we've turned off the bike, so there's nothing that'll accidentally move while we're... Okay, on the front forks, we've got really quite good suspension. It's like top of the range for a tricycle, that's for sure. It is adjustable for rider weight, so there's a little knob on the top here which you can rotate. So if you want no suspension, you can turn it around to the lock symbol, and then when you press on it, there's no suspension at all. If you're a lighter rider, you can turn it right around the opposite direction, so the suspension is actually now quite soft. And you can set it up to suit your preference, whether you want a harder ride or a smoother ride. And it's adjustable at any time. You can just reach down and flick it around. On the rear, there's no suspension, but we find you don't need it because of the built-in suspension to the tyres. Speaking of tyres, we've got the Kenda Crusades. These are a puncture-proof tyre. They claim puncture-proof. I always say puncture resistance, because you can puncture anything if you try hard enough. So in closing, this is just a brief overview of how to operate the Polar Bear Tricycle. I'm sure you will find it the best purchase you've made. Everyone that's got one could not be happier, and I can tell you that it really is a fantastic product to ride. It is a big product, it's a large tricycle, but the largeness gives you extra stability. So because it's long, it's really stable. Where you point it is exactly where it goes. It's wider than other tricycles by about 100 millimeters. So that gives you extra sort of tip resistance. So it'd be very, very hard to ever tip a Polar Bear. And you've got the differential on the rear, which means you've got true 3-wheel drive. So each wheel can put power to the ground when you're using the electric systems. Anyway, that's about it. I've given you enough information now where you should be able to safely operate the Polar Bear Tricycle. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe our channel down below. It really does help us. And watch the videos on the side. We'll have some other great videos for you.